Basara was a lonely, ugly bastard whose life became more useless than dog poop after he and his father were exiled from their village for sending almost everyone to Nirvana. However, it all changed when his father suddenly came home with two demon girls with level 10 Giat to be his sisters, so he started to clap them. Just after his father introduced the two girls, Basara woke the next morning to two large cannons staring down at him. Being in such sus position was giving him a hard time in more ways than one. So he tried adjusting himself but accidentally pushed her over and fell on top of her heavenly pillows. However, Mio got pissed with the cultured idiot and knee-kicked his baby-making factory before walking out of the room. Later on that morning, Basara headed downstairs and found Maria making breakfast. He was shocked to see her in sus clothing and wondered if his stepsisters were on a mission to seduce him to death. Shortly afterward, they had a group photo. Even though Basara was quite reluctant, he had no option but to be involved in the family photo with the two psychotic chicks. Few minutes later, Basara and Mio dropped by the mall for some grocery shopping. And just as Basara went to get the bike, Mio was attacked by some delinquents who wanted to have fun with her. As they harassed her, Basara intervened and demanded they have fun with their hands instead, which infuriated the thugs. They immediately moved to smash, but he counters them by graffitiing their disgusting faces with pepper. Just then, he grabbed Mio and pedaled the bicycle away from the scene. Realizing the dude actually saved her ass and acted like a big brother she never had, Mio thanked him and apologized for her rude actions from earlier. However, Basara told her since they would be leaving together, it was best they start helping each other and become a family little by little. Later that night, Jin informed Basara that he would be going overseas for a freelancer job and urged him to take care of the family as the oldest son. As soon as he left, Basara, who went outside to bid him a safe journey, entered the house and felt something wasn't right. Suddenly, the lights went out, so he headed to the room to look for his stepsisters. He noticed something was off about the crazy girls, and they were acting weird. Just then, Mio ordered him to leave the house. But as he declined her order, Maria blasted him with an energy blast that sent him dashing against the wall and hugging the ground. That moment, he wondered what in the Looney Tune was going on, and just then Maria transformed into a little elf demon with long tails. She informed him that they were demons, and that Mio was the demon lord. She further revealed that the clan of gods and heroes were their sworn enemies. Before she could say any more, Mio jumped in and told Basara that they were taking over the house. She added that the house would serve as their demon base in the human world. However, the revelation seemed unbelievable to Basara, who asked them what would happen to the marriage between his father and their mother. Mio disclosed that the marriage was all a fraud as Jin's memories had been altered, and it was now his turn to get his memories fried. Right then, amidst a blinding light, Maria thought she had erased the dude's memories, but was shocked when Basara Uno reversed the situation and began to switch positions like Flash, which stunned the sisters. Realizing the memory-erasing magic didn't work, Maria tried blasting him with mystic energy, but Basara deflected the attack by summoning his Metal Gear sword. Basara then revealed that he was a member of the Hero Clan, which shocked the girls because they assumed that the Hero Clan were far away in a hidden village. That moment, Basara's metal sword began to emit a fiery flame, and he thought of ending their miserable, deceptive lives. But as he charged at them, he rethought and decided to spare their pathetic lives. He asked them to leave the house, and never showed their ugly ass anymore near him or Jin. Following this incident, Basara called Jin and told him exactly what went on in his absence, and Jin disclosed that he had known about it but just played along, pretending to have his memories wiped. He revealed to Basara that Mio was the only daughter of the demon lord Wilbert, who put an end to the long battle between the demons and the hero clans with his immense powers. However, after all he did, the warlike demons who hated the truce came after his throne, and to keep the threat from coming after his newborn child, he gave the child to humans to raise. On the other hand, Mio and Maria regretted their actions for behaving like insensitive jerks and decided to stop lying to people. Just as they were about to turn a new leaf, they were attacked by phantom mist demons. Meanwhile, Basara was told by Jin that Wilbert, Mio's father, died, and the present demon lord wanted Mio's great power that she inherited from her father. Simultaneously, the mist demon rained several mist energies on Mio and Maria, which they evaded, and Mio countered by blasting the demon. Meanwhile, Basara, after hearing all Jin had to say, regretted his harsh actions of sending his stepsisters out of the house, so he jumped on his bicycle and searched for them in the city. At the same time, the duo blasted the demons away with mystic energy, but just as they thought it was all over, a mist demon appeared behind Mio and fired her with electricity that sent her flying like a useless Barbie doll. Mio thought it was the end for her, and there was no way in hell she would escape, cementing herself to Mother Earth. That instant, Basara, who had discovered their location, saw her flying without wings, and the flashback of their brief time together began to flood his memories. So he pulled a stunt only Tom Cruise could do and caught her midair, but soon realized that the mist demon was fast approaching. However, he Isekai'd its weak ass in a single slash. As the dust settled, he showed the girls the family portrait and told them they were family, and he couldn't abandon them. Later that night, Maria inquired why Basara, a member of the Hero Clan, had saved them. He enlightened her that Jin had explained the situation they were in to him, which shocked Maria that the old scum knew everything after all, and had just played with them like toys. Meanwhile, Mio, who had just finished having her bath, broods over the incident. She thought that if Basara had not done this in a timely manner, she would have been dining with Lucifer in hell. Shortly afterwards, Maria informed Mio that they needed allies to fight the war with the warlike demons, and since Basara and Jin had offered their help, it was the wisest decision to accept their kindness. She further revealed that she had a proposal that involved Basara and Mio weaving a master-servant pact magic. She disclosed that those whose souls are bound by the pact are able to sense each other and can pinpoint their location. However, Basara felt it was a stupid idea, as a GPS on a cell phone was built for just that. Maria disclosed that the pact magic could only be done on a full moon, and they had to commence immediately before the moon went down. As they commenced, Mio informed Basara that he had to kiss the magic circle that appeared on the back of Mio's hand so he could be the servant and her the master. Shockingly, the magic circle appeared in Basara's hand, which shocked them. So Maria asked Mio to kiss his hands, but she declined, being a slave to the disgusting moron. That moment, the magic circle disappeared, but the pact had already been formed, which resulted in a slave collar appearing around Mio's neck. In a matter of seconds, Mio had a seizure and fell to the ground. Seeing Mio on the ground, Maria informed Basara that the curse had taken effect, but he didn't know what the hell the miniature Barbie was yapping about. So she explained that when a servant became rebellious to her master, the curse activated, and since Mio refused to kiss his disgusting hands, the curse activated. She further revealed that the curse is alleviated when the master makes the servant submit. So she asked Basara to touch Mio in a way that would make her submit, as that was the only way to relieve her from the painful effect of the curse. Upon hearing this, the creep immediately played with her plots. He moved his hands like a pro, round about her huge melons like they were steering wheels, which relieved her and broke the curse. The next morning, Basara followed Mio to her school and enrolled as a new student. So after introducing himself in class, the useless teacher appointed a blue-haired girl named Nanaka to take care of Basara. Just as the teacher left the class, Nanaka approached Basara and gave him a hug, which shocked everyone. He thought the girl must be an asylum patient, but realized she was Yuki, his childhood friend. On the other hand, Mio, on seeing the blue-haired hoe hug Basara, became salty, so she moved in and yelled at Nanaka to leave her man alone and separated them from the intense hug. The two girls soon began to fight over the Prince Charming, which made all the losers in the school envious of Basara as they wished to be in his shoes. Shortly afterwards, during lunch, a random dude named Takigawa approached Basara, and they soon became buds. Basara opened up to him that the guys in the class were looking at him in a weird way, and Takigawa responded, telling him that he had made enemies of the entire school, not just in class, which stunned Basara. He further revealed that both Mio and Yuki were the school's Paris Hilton, and Basara was a top G to have both hot baddies trip over his riz. He added that the boys in the school hated Basara because they were envious of his aura and his chadly behavior. At the end of the school day, while Basara and Mio walked home, they were approached by Yuki, who demanded she talk with Basara alone in private, so they went to the nearest coffee shop to talk. And then she revealed to him that he had changed and was not the same simp she used to know. Yuki added that 5 years ago, when they were kids, she would hug him, and he would reciprocate and even go as far as squeezing her rice cakes, but now he was too much of a Chad to hug her back. Just then she delivered a shocker and warned him to stop associating with Mio. She further revealed that the hero clan in the village had sent her to observe Mio, but Basara informed her that he already knew all about Mio's story and that she was a demon. However, Yuki revealed that he alone cannot protect Mio and defeat the demons after her. Still, Basara responded, telling her that the demons were after the powers lurking inside Mio, and he didn't need to win, but just to fend them off. Just then, Yuki summoned her sword and slashed a demon behind Basara, and then informed him that if Mio's existence started causing danger to her surroundings, the village would mark her for elimination, and when that happened, she wouldn't be able to show mercy. Later that night, Basara explained the situation to his sisters to clear things up with Mio's jealousy of Yuki. Hearing all he had to say, Maria then suggested he strengthen his bond of trust with Mio, so she would stop suffering from jealousy. In order to strengthen the bond, she instructed they have a shower plot. As soon as they began getting cultured, the dude nearly had a heart attack from too much excitement, so he informed the thirsty girls that he was too hungry and didn't have the strength for this type of activity. The following day in school, Basara slept in class after hammering all night. However, he was jerked from slumberland by Takigawa, who informed him that the teacher wanted him and Yuki to visit the faculty office for the summer break assignment. Seeing Basara and Yuki spend time together made Mio extremely jealous, and she felt she couldn't trust Basara enough, so her slave collar began to glow, and she became dizzy and passed out. Basara grabbed her and rushed her to the infirmary. On getting to the infirmary, the hot nurse named Hasegawa informed Basara that Mio had anemia and needed a bit of rest. The weird nurse then informed Basara that he needed to build up quality allies and also consider who his allies and enemies were when he acted. Shortly afterwards, Basara, while getting a drink from the vending machine, was approached by Takigawa, who asked him if he had seen any monster lurking around, but Basara responded, telling him the only monster he had seen was him with his haunting face. However, the dude kept rambling on. Basara didn't have time for his useless talk and decided to ditch his ass. Suddenly, there was a complete blackout, and Basara noticed demons emerge from the hall. At the same time in the infirmary, Mio wakes up to find Yuki, who demands that they talk. Simultaneously, Basara faced off with the demons, slashed them like cabbage with his sword and immediately dashed to the infirmary to check on Mio. On getting to the infirmary, he didn't find her, so he decided to look for her and scan the entire school. Meanwhile, as Yuki and Mio talked on the rooftop, Yuki ordered her to leave Basara, but Mio declined, insisting they were a family and Basara had vowed to protect her. Hearing her words angered Yuki, who summoned her energy saber and then blasted her with mystic energy, which she parried. Just then, Mio launched a vortex at her, and the two began attacking each other. After a while of fighting each other, Yuki halted the fight and informed Mio that Basara found it difficult even to wield a sword, and that letting him fight for her was cruel. She added that 5 years ago, in order to save the Hero clan village, Basara isekai'd half the population of the village, which was the reason why Jin and Basara were exiled from the Hero village. Meanwhile, Basara, who was still searching for Mio, decided to use the Master Servant Pack GPS to locate her. So on getting the location, he dashed to the rooftop and found the girls charging at each other. He immediately scolded them for being morons and engaging in a pointless fight. Right then, Takagawa appeared above them, donning an evil mask, and revealed that he was the mastermind behind the demons who appeared in school. He further revealed to Mio that Basara had been fighting demons every night till dawn for her sake, and that's why the dude had been dozing off in class. That instant, Basara had heard enough, so he unleashed his energy saber and jumped high to annihilate the scrawny, ugly dude, but Takigawa slashed him before he could even get to him. Before Basara could regain his composure from the attack, Takigawa summoned a demon behind Mio. As the demon tried impaling her with his sword, Basara intercepted the attack and got impaled instead, splattering blood everywhere. Seeing Basara injured, Yuki became enraged and sliced the demon. She immediately charged at Takigawa and tried attacking him, but he evaded her attack. That moment, Takigawa mocked Mio, telling her Basara got severely injured as a result of her decision. He informed her that involving others in her fight would only get more people hurt. Later that night, the girls treated Basara at home, and Mio couldn't stop thinking about what Takigawa had mentioned, so she excused herself and left her room. Shortly afterwards, Basara became conscious, which made Maria wonder how he could recover so fast, and thought he was the bravest man alive. However, Basara revealed to her that he could be so strong because of the rigorous training he had to endure in the village. Still in the feeling, he decided to tell her the story of his life. Years ago, he was the strongest and brightest star in his village, but one day while they were training, they got a message from one of the villagers that Sato had taken the sacred sword from a fellow villager. He added that the dude had been possessed and planned on attacking the village. Moments later, Sato attacked the village and even went after the children. Just as the deranged maniac was about to end Yuki, little Basara interrupted with his immense power. He caused a powerful explosion that vanquished the enemy and destroyed the ground. Basara was worried sick about Mio, so Maria suggested she look for her. On getting to her room, she discovered the nutcase wasn't there and had escaped. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Mio linked up with Takigawa in a bid to fight her battles alone and not keep hurting people. That instant, she tried fighting the masked creep by hurling energy blasts at him. Still, her attacks were very useless as Takigawa summoned a mighty fiery shield that deflected all her attacks. Realizing she was weak and couldn't defeat Takigawa, she decided to give up and surrender, pleading with him not to lay a hand on Basara and the others. So Takigawa bound her hands using an evil mist and was about to teleport her to the demon realm. But suddenly, he gets hit by a mystic energy slash. Right then, Yuki appeared and started to slash him with her blade. She unleashed her hero armor suit and lunged forward with her oppression. She slashed at him multiple times even though he created a spiritual barrier that blocked all her attacks. In a last-ditch effort, she slashed, and the barrier shattered, leaving the freak open and vulnerable. He wondered how she was able to destroy the barrier, and she told him she had slashed multiple times at a particular spot, which made the barrier weak. On hearing her, he felt Yuki was a badass. So as she was about to land the final blow that would give him a permanent residence in hell, Takigawa narrowly evaded the attack and leaped high to a tall building. At that moment, Takigawa decided to launch his oppression campaign, so he blasted Yuki with electricity and unleashed spheres of energy blast that rained on her. With all the attacks she had managed to endure, she became exhausted but determined to keep fighting. Takigawa, hoping to bring an end to the fight, summoned a mighty sphere of energy blast and hurled it at Yuki. That instant, she saw her life flash before her eyes, but Basara arrived just in the nick of time to save her ass, and using his blade, he vanquished the mighty sphere. Just then, Basara charged at the nuisance, but Takigawa fired another mighty sphere, and Basara sliced the sphere using the banishing shift technique that renders all forms of attack meaningless. Basara was finally able to shatter the sphere, which gave Tokugawa a total shock. Even though the attack injured him, Basara charged at Tokugawa and unleashed a barrage of attacks at him. Still, Tokugawa managed to evade his attack and summoned balls of energy blasts, which he fired at him. Basara slashed through the balls unfazed and attacked him, but the moron wouldn't stop rambling, so Basara yelled at him to shut his disgusting mouth. In a turn of events, Tokugawa grabbed Basara's neck, but Maria materialized from nowhere and landed a powerful blow that shattered his defense mechanism, leaving him open and vulnerable. Basara utilized the opportunity and sliced his guts multiple times, which neutralized the threat temporarily and freed Mio from the mist shackles on her arms. Just as they thought it was all over, a phantom mist demon appeared behind them in a split second, and stabbed Basara in the guts. Thinking her plot master had finally met his demise, Mio screamed in rage and unleashed her dormant powers, vanquishing the phantom mist demons instantly. Basara realized Mio was finding it difficult to control her powers, so before she blew herself up, he decided to help her even though she insisted he save himself. He used the banishing shift technique to discern the root of the power going out of control with the hope of eliminating it, so he blasted and freed her from the overwhelming power. Several weeks later, they recovered from the injuries sustained and went back to school. That afternoon in school, Basara met up with Takigawa at the rooftop, but the idiot was acting all cool, not knowing Basara could smell his disgusting evil aura and had seen through his masked disguise. Even when Basara revealed that he knew Takigawa was the masked freak that attacked them, he tried denying it, but Basara proves it by attempting to punch him. Realizing his cover was blown, he asked Basara what he wanted to do now. So Basara informed him he wanted to negotiate. Since the Demon Lord sent Takigawa to monitor Mio, which he had failed completely at it and blown his cover, they will need to work together. He got to keep his job, and the acting demon would not get to know that he was a miserable failure, which Takigawa agreed to temporarily. As Takigawa left the rooftop, Mio stormed in and thanked Basara for saving her life with a kiss. Before he could exchange saliva with her, Yuki held him back and told Mio to stop behaving like a cheap whore. At that moment, the two desperate chicks began to fight, and Maria soon joined them. The following day, Basara woke up feeling something sus down there. Then he saw Maria in her birthday suit, playing with his willy. He yelled at her, but when she wouldn't listen, he pushed her off and headed to the bathroom to make the early morning deposits, only to find Mio taking a bath. On seeing him, she screamed, but he quickly held her mouth. However, he suddenly tripped and fell with Mio on top of him in a two-directional sus position. Realizing the tension between them was uncontrollable, Basara suggested they only use the master-servant pact when necessary, to which Mio agreed. However, she thought it best to electrocute his ass for dashing into the bathroom and invading her privacy. Shortly afterwards, Basara finally had a peaceful moment away from all the thirsty traps all over the house. Just then, he felt someone caressing his hair, and as he turned, he found harem member number 3 in the bathroom, ready to develop plot. However, Basara was tired of dishing out simp content, so he asked her to leave, but she refused and pulled down her plot armor, insisting the show must go on. Suddenly, Mio came knocking on his room door, because she heard happy noises coming from his room. After a while of knocking with no response, she dashed into the room and then inside the bathroom to find the uncensored scene. She immediately became furious and moved to electrocute the cheating bastard finally. But suddenly, she felt the intense plot craving that overwhelmed her anytime she thought of hurting Basara. Later that day, Basara and Takigawa had lunch, and Takigawa revealed to him that Jin, his father, was famous in the demon realm. He further revealed that his father was the reason why the former demon lord Wilbert had withdrawn the troops. He feared his monstrous strength in combat. Takigawa also informed him that he got information that the demon lord was sending reinforcement for observation since they hadn't heard from him. He added that the demon lord assumed that Mio had awakened the previous demon lord's powers. Just then, their conversation was interrupted by Hasegawa, who insisted on joining the boys for lunch. While they ate lunch together, she revealed that she knew Basara's father, and she was a massive fan of his photo collection. Later that evening, Basara walked home with Hasegawa, and she started giving him a pep talk about loyalty and demons. Suddenly, she placed his fat head on her huge pillows, making Basara wonder why only psychotic hoes were attracted to him. The following day, Tokugawa encountered an ugly Thanos rip-off demon called Valga, who disclosed to him that the demon lord sent him also to observe the target, hinting at Mio. A few seconds later, another female demon named Zest, with cannons the size of Tokugawa's head, emerged from the portal and revealed to him that she had come to also observe the situation of things on orders of the Majesty. Before long, the heroes of justice arrived in town with the mandate from the village to upgrade the target from observation to elimination, hinting at Mio. The following day at the mall, while on a date with Yuki, they were interrupted by Mio and Maria. On seeing Mio, Yuki asked for her help in choosing the perfect outfit, since she was a village girl who hadn't been keeping up with the Kardashians. So Mio helped her select a few outfits which she loved. Shortly afterwards, they head outside the mall, after a long day of shopping, but they couldn't find Yuki, and stood outside the mall wondering where the pantomime might have gone. Suddenly they noticed the sky change color, and in the blink of an eye they were attacked by a powerful vortex that nearly ended their worthless lives. Right then they were faced with Valga, who was ready to annihilate them. On seeing the uglier version of Thanos, Basara charged at him, but his attack was as useless as Maria's surfboard body. Valga threatened to break every bone in their bodies and started to overwhelm them. Just as he was ready to punch Basara out of existence, he was stabbed with an ice blade that turned him into a useless snowman, shattering him completely. At that moment, Basara noticed the presence of the heroes of justice, and wondered why they left the village. Shiba, one of the heroes, responded and revealed to him that they were sent on the order of the village. Afterwards, Kurumi, one of the heroes and sister of Yuki, then called Basara a traitor for protecting the demon's lord daughter. Takashi, the third member of the Power Rangers ripoff, disclosed to Basara that the village had upgraded Mio to a mid-class target for elimination. After listening to all they had to say, Basara asserted that he would protect Mio even if it meant going against the village. Upon hearing this, the Hero League resolved to attack, but Shiba broke the barrier covering the space, informing them they couldn't fight just yet because the barrier was weak, and the fight would definitely lead to destruction in the city. He assured Basara that a stronger barrier would be created in a week's time, and then they could have their fight. Days later, Basara and the girls train with great intensity for the upcoming battle against the Heroes of Justice, and Maria revealed that with the Byakuya spear in Takashi's possession, it would be difficult to defeat them. At the same time, Kurumi and Yuki had a discussion. Kurumi was pissed with her that she had forgotten her mission and grown fond of the target, hinting at Mio. She explained that the village decision was final, and she had to choose between the village or Basara. After a long training day, Basara was exhausted and opted to save the show some budget, but the girls had vowed to exhaust the show budget with plenty sus scenes. Maria approached Basara, pointed out how he and Mio needed to grow the master-servant pact by cultivating plot to enable them to grow stronger. But Basara chooses to be a top G, and yelled at her that he can't go all the way with Mio because she is his sister. However, the short schemer thought his words were useless, so she climbed him to load his short gun and change his mind. After several hours of intense workout, Broski decided that one more simp moment wouldn't hurt anyone, so he launches further into the deep later that night. The following day in school, Basara encountered Yuki in the hallway, and she begged him to withdraw from the fight with the Heroes of Justice. Upon hearing her, Basara declined and explained to her that he had a duty to protect Mio as her brother. His words angered Yuki, so she made her decision to fight for the Heroes of Justice and ditch his simp ass. Later that night, Basara and the girls arrived at the location of the battle and found Shiba and the Heroes team already present ready for the battle. At that moment, using the power of the Byakuya, Takashi cast a barrier to prevent interference. The fight commenced with both parties attacking each other. Basara fought against Kumuri, while Maria and Mio fought with Takashi. A few minutes into the fight, Maria and Mio lured Takashi to a secluded place, and Maria delivered a stunning kick that sent him flying. She didn't end there, she continued her onslaught, which Takashi evaded effortlessly. With a high jump, he attacked her with the Byakuya, but she managed to block the strike. Just then, Takahisa unleashed the power of the Byakuya that impacted Maria and sent her smashing to the roof. Seeing Maria being beaten like a useless thief, Mio cast a spell that burst the building drainage system and the whole place became flooded. Meanwhile, Basara continued to evade Kurumi's attack and tried landing an attack of his own, but she created a mighty shield, and upon impacting the shield, Basara was sent crashing to the wall of the building. That instant, Kurumi approached him and told him to fight his best, as the village would never reconsider their move to exile him after he isekai'd half the population of the village years back. But before she could complete her statement, Basara used the power of the banishing shift and landed a strike that hit her. As Kurumi fell down the building from the impact of Basara's attack, Basara caught her in midair and prevented her from hugging the ground. Just then, Basara sighted Yuki, who drew her sword and charged at him, hitting him in the face with the hilt of her sword. While he lay on the ground, Yuki inserted a sleeping potion in his mouth to put him out of action. On the other hand, the sisters thought the flooded water would hold Takahisa for a while, but were shocked when a rippling effect drained the water out of the building, and Takahisa emerged. Takahisa, wielding the Byakuya, resolved to end the lives of the girls and unleash the power of the spear to rip them apart. Just as he thought the girls had been eliminated, he found the menace outside the building, fleeing, so he ran after them and continued to overwhelm them, until Yuki, who had switched allegiance back to Basara, came and defended the girls. Shortly afterwards, Mio found Basara unconscious in the arm of Kumuri, and Kumuri explained that Basara had been given a sleeping potion and had drifted to Slumberland. So Mio tried waking up the heavy sleeper, and just when she thought it was impossible, the dude was jerked back to the present. At the same time, Takahisa and Yuki continued to exchange attacks, and just when Takahisa overwhelmed her and readied to land the final strike that would send her to Nirvana, Basara appeared just in the nick of time to save her. The two dudes soon began fighting, with Basara attacking at sonic speed, which Takahisa parried with great effort. Just then, the Byakuya shield activated auto-defense due to the multiple attacks it had deflected. The shield exploded, sending Takahisa crashing to the ground and transforming into its true form, a giant white magical tiger. Realizing the tiger might explode and destroy the city, the team decided to attack and vaporize it. So Yuki attacked and brought down the tiger's shield, and using the banishing shift, Basara completely vaporized the Byakuya tiger. As the dust settled, Takahisa received a face-resetting slap from Mio for being an insensitive jerk, and for trying to eliminate his friends because of a stupid cause. Meanwhile, Shiba, who had been watching the fight outside the barrier, informed the Heroes squad that the mission had been temporarily withdrawn. Upon hearing this, the team stopped the fight and headed home, taking Yuki along. Several weeks later, Basara felt Yuki's absence from school, and Mio noticed how sad he had been since Yuki had left. The following day, Basara woke up, and as he headed to get breakfast, he found Yuki making breakfast, which stunned him. He wondered how she was able to leave the village and return, so she informed him that the elders of the village chose to pretend the recent events never happened. She further revealed that the elders of the village received a call from Jin that prompted them to call off the entire mission. Upon hearing that, Basara wondered what kind of deal Jin must have struck with the elders to have called off the mission. Few minutes later, Mio and Maria entered and found the pervs in a sus position, so Mio yelled at Yuki and asked her where she was in the house. Yuki informed her that she had received permission from the elders to start living with them, which gave the sisters a total shock. Shortly afterwards, the short nutcase announced that she had a new anime she would love them to watch together, so everyone gathered in the living room to see the latest anime, but the evil midget showed them a video of Basara and Mio developing plot. Upon seeing the video, Mio became enraged and strangled her small neck, while Yuki felt Mio had been enjoying it for too long, and now it was her turn, so she decided to form a master-servant pact with Basara. Her decision made Maria excited as she would get to record more plot-filled videos, so she informed Yuki that she would help her form the pact on the next full moon, which was the next day. Later that day in school, Basara noticed Maria inside the school compound and concluded that the short, cultured girl definitely had an evil agenda, so he trailed her. He soon finds her sneaking into the class and asks her why she is in school, so she explains that she is worried about Mio's safety. Throughout that day in school, Mio and Yuki had bad energies, as Mio was jealous that Yuki was going to form a master-servant pact with her boo. Meanwhile, Basara and Maria walked around the school like jobless fugitives, and they finally found themselves in the girls' changing room. Noticing some movement in the changing room, they decided to hide inside Mio's locker to prevent being caught. Inside the locker, Maria took undue advantage of the opportunity and cultivated a massive plot with Basara. A few minutes later, Mio arrived in the changing room, and as she opened her locker, she found the disgusting nutjobs having a fun time inside, which stunned her, so she closed the locker to avoid attention from the other random girls. After the side characters left the changing room, she demanded the mental case, and the creep came out of the locker. As they came out, she asked for an explanation from the freaks, but before they could explain, the master-servant curse overwhelmed her and caused her to experience intense plot cravings. So to counter the effect of the curse, Maria suggested that Basara go all rough with Mio this time, so as to enhance his combat capabilities. So Bro took her to the shower and developed plot with her again, instantly enhancing their combat abilities. At the end of the school day, the team couldn't find Maria, so Basara went in search of her and suddenly saw her having a conversation with Takagawa. Curious, he dashed to know what the demons might be planning. But he arrived late as the discussion was over. As they walked home, Basara asked Maria what the discussion she had with Takagawa was all about, but she evaded the question and changed the topic. Meanwhile, somewhere in the demon's lair, Zest played videos of Mio and Basara together, and Zolgia, an obnoxious demon, got enraged that the spikehead was hammering the woman he was attracted to, hinting at Mio under the disguise of a master-servant pact. The following night, the master-servant pact between Yuki and Basara commenced, and just then the magic circle appeared on Basara's hand. But Yuki refused to kiss because she wanted Basara to dominate her like he does to Mio. In a matter of seconds, the magic circle disappeared, and then the slave collar appeared on Yuki's neck, finalizing the master-servant pact. Noticing Yuki was experiencing intense plot cravings, Basara caressed her plot and rice cakes, which made her scream loud. The following day in school, while Basara wore his uniform in the men's changing room after the volleyball session, Sakaki, a fellow student and Mio friend, suddenly stormed into the room and demanded he had another volleyball session with her using her balls. Realizing the dude was hesitant, the depraved freaky girl pounced on him and started to undress. However, Yuki and Mio entered the room to find their man being ravaged. Mio leaves, but Yuki attacked the girl. Noticing Sakaki could see her hero blade, Yuki instructed Basara to go after Mio and leave the freak to her. As she moved to attack, Alkawa, another student, came in to join the fight against Yuki. Meanwhile, as Mio fled, the curse suddenly activated, which made her exhausted. Then, Maria approached her disguise to help her. Suddenly, Zest materialized before their eyes, and before Basara could get to them, Zest opened a portal and teleported them to the demon lair. That moment, Basara tried using the Master-Servant Pact to pinpoint Mio's location, but realized it wasn't working, and it only showed him Yuki's location. Several hours later, Mio, who was unconscious, woke up to find herself in the demon lair, and just then, Zest approached her, telling her she had been captured. That moment, Zolgia walked in, and on seeing the demon who Isekai'd her earthly parents, Mio became enraged. The freaky demon moved in to play with Mio's huge melons, but Maria interrupted and told Zolgia that the demon lord Leohart was on a call in a magical orb. On receiving the call, Leohart spoiled his fun moment and ordered him to return to the royal castle for an assignment. At the same time, Basara linked up with Tokigawa and asked for his help to locate Mio, who had been captured. However, Tokigawa informed him that Maria had been a traitor all this while and was working for Zolgia to capture Mio. He further revealed that Zolgia captured Maria's mom, forcing her to work with him. On hearing this, Basara became furious and insisted Tokigawa disclosed Mio's location. However, Tokigawa declined, which prompted Basara to attack him. Tokigawa countered his attack and teleported him to the demon lair unconscious. Zest approached Tokigawa, so he proposed a deal, exchanging Basara for Mio, but Zest couldn't care less about what he wanted, and then stabbed his gut with her sharp claws, eliminating him instantly. That moment, Zest teleported Basara, who was still unconscious, into the mansion. Maria was stunned, so Zest instructed her to subdue him and dominate his heart. A few minutes later, Basara regained consciousness to find himself tied to the bed in a room. As he wondered what was going on, he found Maria, who jumped on him and insisted they develop plot since it was his final moment on Earth. As she was about to commence, Basara enlightened her that he was aware of her mom's entrapment and that he would do all in his might to get her released. Hearing his words angered her, as she felt no one could possibly help her now. So she unlocked her trump card and transformed from being flat like the latest iPhone to the chic with level 10 Jayat. That moment she hypnotized him and they commenced hammering. After several minutes of intense smooching, the delusion faded away and Basara was back to his usual self. Basara then summoned his blade and stuck it to the ground, crashing the entire cloaking barrier in the mansion and making it visible to Yuki, who had been searching for the hidden location. Basara tried saving Maria, but she felt he was too ugly to save her, so she beat him senseless. Shortly afterwards, Yuki entered the mansion and attacked Zest, who evaded her attack and countered it with her own attack. Just then, Yuki used her sword to destroy the chains holding Mio hostage, and the ladies began to unleash barrages of attack on Zest. After several attacks, the duo managed to subdue Zest and bound her with magic ropes. Just when they thought all was good, Zalgia arrived and cast a spell that restrained their bodies. That moment, the goddamn ugly became angry at Zest because he had been reading her thoughts, and he discovered she wanted a young man like Basara to be her master and not an old ugly freak like him. So he summoned chains that bound her by the neck and choked the life out of her. Just as she was about to meet her doom, Basara, who had managed to put Maria under control, unleashed Banishing Shift that cancelled Zalgia's magic and freed Zest. That instant, Basara charged at Zalgia, but his attack was useless, and Zalgia cast his men's bondage magic on Basara. Zalgia then approached Basara with the intent of stealing his powers, but Basara struggled and broke free from the bondage, stunning Zalgia. Basara immediately launched an offensive, attacking Zalgia with relentless strikes, but Zalgia effortlessly blocked all his attacks. Undeterred, Basara continued to unleash a flurry of assaults, yet Zalgia evaded them with ease and retaliated, punching Basara to the ground and causing him to spew blood. At that moment, Zalgia levitated midair and summoned the flames of hell, directing them at Basara. Basara then countered with his Banishing Shift, but the impact exploded in his face. Despite the powerful attacks, Basara refused to back down, relentlessly pressing his attack against Zalgia. However, Zalgia remained unfazed, parrying each of Basara's strikes. Suddenly, Zalgia cast a powerful spell that sent Basara crashing into a wall. Zalgia attempted to dominate Basara's mind, but Basara resisted fiercely. That instant, Maria intervened, trying to assist Basara, but Zalgia cruelly showed her a video of her imprisoned mother, attempting to manipulate her emotions. He insisted that she join his harem along with the other girls, but Maria defiantly responded that she would rather eat dog poop than be involved with his disgusting old self. Enraged, Zalgia showed her another video, this time of her mother's body, ruptured inside the electromagnetic cell, sending Maria into shock. Seeing Maria's despair triggered terrible memories in Mio of her own deceased parents, unleashing the dormant powers she had inherited from her father Wilbert. Noticing Mio's overpowering state, Zalgia attempted to absorb her energy, but the moment he touched her, the high voltage in her power nearly sent him to nirvana. Just as Mio prepared to end Zalgia's life, Basara intervened, pleading with her to spare him. Reluctantly, Mio stopped, showing mercy. Taking advantage of the situation, Zalgia teleported out of the building. As the dust settled and the team felt relieved to be alive, they were stunned when Maria's mother walked into the room. Meanwhile, outside the building, Zalgia encountered Takigawa, who was still alive and revealed that he had tricked Zest into believing she had eliminated him when she had only destroyed a dummy. Takigawa explained that he was the one who freed Maria's mother from the electromagnetic cell. When Zalgia demanded to know Takigawa's intentions, Takigawa revealed that since Zalgia had killed Mio's earthly parents, whom he also considered his own due to their care at the orphanage, his only desire was to kill Zalgia with his own hands. Inside the building, Zest informed the group that Zalgia's zero-particle reaction surrounding the mansion had vanished. Suddenly, the mansion transformed into the stomach of a living creature, shocking everyone. They were immediately attacked by various creeping animals, and realizing they needed to escape, Zest revealed that they had to destroy the core of the creature, which was located at the center of its body. Basara suggested that he go alone to destroy the core, but his loyal wives insisted on accompanying him despite the danger. Zest then led the way to the center, with Basara and his wives following closely behind, leaving Maria and her mother behind. As they moved inside the gut of the beast, they encountered several creatures that they sliced. Zest then cast a magic spell that opened the guts of the beast, paving the way for them to get to the core. They finally arrived at a creepy stairs which started to move, and suddenly transformed into a one-eyed creature and attacked them. Just then Yuki instructed them to go without her, so she could fend off the one-eyed creature. That moment Zest mentioned that the core was below, so she burst open the way leading them to the center. Below the core, Mio found a statue of a naked lady and wondered why it looked so much like Zest. As she stared at it, the statue came to life and attacked her. On seeing Mio being attacked by the statue, Basara tried to defend her, and the statue attacked him as well. Just then, Zest cast a mighty spell that completely vanquished them. After that, the team moved further below, and they eventually found the core of the beast. That instant, Zest and Mio advanced to destroy the core, but the gut defense mechanism smacked them away. Realizing it would be difficult to destroy the core, Zest suggested she move further so the defense system would concentrate its attack on her alone, and Basara could finally destroy the core. On hearing her suggestion, Basara and Mio thought it was a very dangerous plan and tried stopping her from going. But she revealed to them that she wasn't human but just a magical organism created by Zalgia. However, Basara tried talking to her not to act foolishly, but she insisted on moving ahead with the plan, which made Basara regret making her the new hero. That moment, she attacked the guts, and as the defense mechanism attacked her, Basara leaped high and unleashed a banishing shift that utterly obliterated the core, destroying the beast in the process. Shortly afterwards, Zalgia was taken to a prison by Takagawa, who informed him that someone actually wanted to watch him die, and on seeing Basara enter, Zalgia was stunned. Just then, the old pathetic man started to beg for his worthless life, but Takagawa was tired of seeing his stomach-turning face, so he cast a spell that blasted his face amidst blood. Later that night, Basara arrived home to find the lady safe. And just then, Yuki approached him and told him that even though they had managed to defeat Zalgia, more demons would continue to go after Mio's powers. After listening to her, he went to Mio's room to check up on her, but ended up hammering her. Just then, they were interrupted by Yuki and Zest, who needed some of the action. Several weeks later, Leohart, the Demon Lord, got information about Zalgia's demise, and on getting to his throne, he found his security detail laying dead on the ground. Just then, he encountered Jin sitting on his throne. That moment, Jin told him he had come to repay him for laying a hand on his son. In the throne room, Jin told Demon Lord Leohart that he was there to make him pay for attacking his family, and Leohart responded by asking if he came to face him alone. Jin smirked, after which the two Gigachads engaged in a Goku vs Saitama level clash in the Demon Castle. Jin attempted to rip the demon scum in half with his sword, but Leohart managed to block and push him back. When they landed in the yard, Jin rage-baited Leohart enough to make him attack again, and the two of them clashed swords intensely until Leohart noticed that his cheap cosplay had been slightly cut by Jin. He now realized that the rumors he'd heard about Jin being a renowned war god wasn't just Twitter noise, so he fired a massive wave of dark aura at him. And although Jin managed to deflect it, the impact broke his sword in half. Jin threw away his broken sword, and Leohart tried to finish him off using a special devouring attack. But Jin countered using a rip-off of Akaza's blood demon art, which sent the attack right back at Leohart. The Demon Lord managed to parry the blast away, and the impact with the castle made all the other demon generals rush out to aid their king. However, Leohart told them to stand back because they'd be nothing but veggies on a chopping board to Jin, and Jin tried to attack again but stopped when he saw a falling girl, which saved as he escaped. As Basara, Mio, and Yuki made their way to school, Mio said she was surprised that Basara volunteered to join the executive committee, and when Yuki asked why he did that, Basara said he wanted to try living a normal school life. Some hours later, Basara and an executive committee member named Tachibana met up with Chisato in the school hallway, and she briefly checked on them before wishing them good luck in the upcoming sports festival. After she left, Basara felt a weird presence which made him jumpy, but when Tachibana asked what was wrong, he said it was nothing. They eventually arrived at the committee meeting spot where they spotted an ugly runt named Danu complaining about the committee's refusal to add fireworks to the festival due to budget issues. Denal decided that he and his gang would run the festival to the ground, and when a female committee member tried to argue, Bro tried to swing at her. However, Stee's Lord Basara was there to stop his punch and stylishly trip him to the floor. Dana tried to attack with a blade, but he was interrupted when Chisato walked into the room and Tachibana used a special spell with his eyes that made the hooligans submissive to Chisato's orders. After they left, a teacher named Sakasaki told Basara to follow him to the roof, and when they got there, he warned Basara to be careful around Chisato because he suspected she was using some kind of magic, which made everyone simp for her. Hours later, Mio and Yuki met up with Takigawa, who advised them to get stronger so that they'd be able to unalive Basara if his powers ever went out of control. That evening, Basara was on his way home after a committee meeting, when a barrier suddenly appeared in the area which made everyone around start acting like brainless zombies. Basara's numerous attempts at attacking them failed, and he was stunned when these zombies activated magic circles which they intended to use in attacking him. He jumped out of the way and transformed into his battle form, but before he could deflect their magic blasts, Kurumi made a dramatic entrance by blocking the blasts with a water shield. When Basara saw that she was about to unleash another spell, he informed her that they were being controlled, and she said she already knew, which was why she was nerfing her attack. Kurumi then Pikacha'd the zombie people and informed Basara that she was sent by the hero village because they felt that Yuki wasn't enough to observe things on her own. When the two of them arrived home, they saw Yuki and Mio looking thirsty as hell while wearing sus animal girl cosplays, and it didn't take long before they started going commando on Basara, causing Kurumi to freak out. Afterwards, Yuki explained to her sister that she and Mio entered a master-slave contract with the Riz Lord in order to become stronger, and Kurumi started scolding them, so Maria used succubus magic to make Kurumi's loins start tingling. Maria said they needed to make Kurumi submit, so Basara and Yuki formed a tag team as they pulled off all the sacred Diddy moves on Kurumi, until she eventually reached her limit. After Kurumi slept, Maria explained to Basara that she went that far with the hero sisters because she wanted to prevent them from having the broken relationship which she had with her own elder sister. And in response, Basara hugged her while telling her how much he cherished her. Later that night, Basara gave in to his Batman delusions as he went on a rooftop and started searching for the villain who was targeting him. On the day of the sports festival, Mio was in the girls' changing room, and her milk factories were bouncing all over the place as she took off her uniform. Her friend named Shiho said she was excited for the festival, and when Mio brought up the fact that she was feeling cold, Shiho decided to warm her up by playing with her plots. Meanwhile, Basara and Tachibana were welcoming guests at the entrance, and when they finished, Basara brought up the fact that Danue and his gang willingly apologized after the incident. He said he was glad the matter was resolved in time, and Tachibana responded with a sad look in his eyes, so Basara asked if he wasn't feeling well. He said he was okay, and just then, Kurumi came by. Basara trolled her by saying he was surprised she found them without getting lost, and she called him an idiot while saying she could never get lost in the school her sister attends. After handing Kurumi a guest form, Basara introduced Kurumi to Tachibana as Yuki's little sister, and he also informed Kurumi that Tachibana was a fellow member of the executive committee. She awkwardly responded to Tachibana's greetings, and after she left, Basara explained to Tachibana that Kurumi didn't hate him but was rather just a shy midget. Just then, some other committee members came by to take over welcoming duty, so Basara said goodbye to Tachibana before leaving to meet up with Yuki and Mio in the yard. Earlier, Basara informed the girls about his encounter with the mind-controlled humans, and Maria said that although there were demons with mind control abilities, she'd never heard of normal people being granted magic power. However, she said it could be possible if it was a high-ranking demon or someone with great abilities. Back in the present, Basara told Yuki and Mio that they couldn't let their guard down because the enemy was someone who wouldn't let them sense their presence, and Mio presumed that the villain would most likely strike again on that day, because there were a lot of people around for them to manipulate. In light of this, Basara reminded the girls that their first priority is to protect the lives of everyone at their school, and Mio agreed. A while later, the student council president named Rika gave a speech about the power of friendship in front of the entire school, and everyone cheered for her when she was done. Elsewhere, Kurumi summoned some wind spirits which she scattered all over the school. She instructed them to investigate the school grounds and report to her if they spot anyone acting suspiciously. When Tachibana spotted the spirits, she activated his observation haki, and this allowed her to get a clear view of Kurumi casting this spell from where she was standing. After some track events, the MC announced that it was time for the mixed-gender four-legged obstacle course race, and the commentator stated the team to watch was Class 1B, because it had two of the Academy's idols participating, referring to Mio and Yuki. Mio asked Yuki if she'd heard from Kurumi, and Yuki said no before saying that she hoped the spirits would be enough of a deterrent. Basara said they can't let their guard down, but then he went into a lighter tone as he suggested they enjoy the event while they were there. When the race started, the commentator announced that the teams were neck and neck, and he asked the crowd who they thought would come out on top. However, all the boys in the crowd were treating Basara like he was Hitler because he was running with the two hottest baddies in school by his side, and the commentator announced that their team had taken the lead. It didn't take long before Mio's jiggle physics became too distracting for Basara, and when Yuki noticed that the Virgin was tweaking, she took things a step further by cuddling him in a way that allowed her soft oranges to bounce on his chest. Noticing this, Mio got ticked off, and they eventually got to the second portion of the race where they were expected to work together in order to break the balloons on the track. Mio tried to crush a balloon on Basara's body with her natural cushions, but it didn't budge, and while they were in that sus position, Yuki came by and started pressing a balloon on Basara's behind using her dump truck. Basara tried to calm the girls down, but the slightest movements he made caused the balloons to tickle their naughty bits, causing them to make girl noises. The commentator made things even worse by narrating it like a scene from his favorite Johnny Sins movie, and Basara loudly called him an idiot for it. Eventually, the girls managed to pop their balloons on Basara's body, and as the water splashed on them, they both made loud girl noises. However, the madness didn't end there, because both Mio and Yuki started doing OnlyFans dances on the floor due to the urges that overcame them.
You're teasing me! Naughty, naughty!
And eventually their uniforms melted away to reveal their bare plots. Some weird bandages tied on their legs, and they both apologized to Basara before their slave crests activated. As the girls went even deeper into the freak zone, they begged Basara to help them, so he reached out to grab their melons. However, all of the crazy events happened to just be a daydream of Maria, because in reality, Basara and the girls successfully won the race without any trouble. Afterwards, Chisato congratulated them, and as Basara walked away with the girls, he decided that he'd protect everyone, even if it meant suspecting Chisato. A while later, The MC announced that the next event in the festival was the creative dance, and as the students prepared for it, Kurumi's spirits gave her a view of Tachibana, who was patrolling the area. He eventually got to a building where Dantu used magic to create a massive tornado in the school grounds. Basara instructed Yuki and Mio to take care of everyone while he faced the threat, and after they left he unleashed a banishing shift attack on the tornado, causing it to vanish into the abyss. Tachibana was shocked when he saw Basara in his battle form, and just then several more tornadoes appeared around Basara. As Basara fought off against them, Tachibana activated his Sharingan eyes again while Mio and Yuki led the students away from the danger zone. Sakasaki was tending to an injured student when he spotted Basara erasing the remaining tornadoes. Afterwards, Basara started searching for the person responsible for the tornadoes, and he felt a weird vibe before Tachibana showed up with his glowing red eyes. Basara tried to approach him, but Tachibana used a barrier to toss him inside the school building where he transformed his outfit into a Timu Dracula cosplay, causing Basara to realize that he's a vampire. Outside the school, Kurumi took out Danwei using a barrage of light attacks, and while he was unconscious, she realized that he was being manipulated before a mysterious man appeared behind her. Inside the building, Basara asked Tachibana why he was playing villain when he wanted the festival to succeed, and Tachibana replied that he knew Basara was there to unalive him before charging at Basara with his sharp claws. Basara dodged but still got cut in the face a bit, and when Tachibana attacked again, he deflected the claws using his sword. Tachibana then started ranting about how bad heroes were, and how he wanted to live a quiet life. As they fought, Basara noticed the tears on his eyes, which made him wonder if Tachibana was really the mastermind. However, Basara noticed that Mio and Yuki's presence had vanished, so he launched Tachibana into the wall before rushing to search for them. On his way, he ran into Chisato, who he thought was the actual mastermind, and when he asked her to let him through, she refused. He tried to stab her, but she held his sword and cracked it with the sheer strength of her grip. She tried to attack Basara again, but Sakasaki stopped her with an explosion spell and told Basara to follow him. Basara ran with him to a room where Sakasaki revealed that he's a freelance exorcist who was sent by Jin to keep an eye on him while he's in the demon world. He then revealed that Chisato has power on par with CES-class demons and that she was controlling the students with magic as part of her plan to rule the academy from the shadows. However, Basara saw through his chicanery and attempted to slash him with his sword. Sakasaki dodged and tried to talk his way out of it, but Basara said he realized that Sakasaki was the enemy because Jin never warned them about Chisato. Heading this, Sakasaki dropped the act and propelled Basara into a wall before transforming into his battle form, which he referred to as a god. Basara tried to attack him, but he blocked his attack and Basara started giving a hero speech until Sakasaki brought Kurumi out of a portal and pointed his blade on his neck. Seeing this, Basara surrendered, and Sakasaki immediately seized the opportunity by cutting off his sword arm. Basara reached out to grab his sword while writhing in pain on the floor, and Sakasaki said he'd love to pummel him to his satisfaction, but it was no longer necessary. However, Basara suddenly zoomed in front of Sakasaki and struck him with his sword, causing him to fly through several walls. Sakasaki was baffled by what was going on, and when he looked at Basara, he saw that he'd regrown his sword arm and had now entered a new powerful form. Out of fear of his life, the fraud god desperately tried to fire an attack at him, but before Basara could clap him with another powerful attack, Chisato stopped him by restraining him with some special chains. Chisato then called Sakasaki by his real name Ornis, while saying that he was pathetic, and Ornis realized that Chisato was his master named Afleia. She explained that Basara's sword Brynhildr was once the greatest Valkyrie, which was used in hunting down many souls for the chief god, and claimed that Ornis was the one who recklessly unleashed that sealed power. She asked him if he was that desperate to unalive Basara, and he replied that he couldn't forgive someone who overreached his station and received her favor. He then went into simp mode as he said that her beauty was absolute and claimed that it was his duty to protect it. Chisato then asked if he had to unalive Basara like he did the real Sakasaki, and Ornis said there was nothing wrong with it because he believed that humans were the eternal servants of the gods. Chisato admitted that Sakasaki was a scumbag who forced girls at school to do play with him in sus ways, despite their fears, which was why she overlooked it when Ornis destroyed him, but she said she couldn't overlook what he'd done this time. Ornis then said he couldn't forgive people who sullied her, and he started insulting Basara again, so she shut him up by blasting him into a wall. She informed him that the blood of someone she cherished flows within Barasa, and said she'd never forgive anyone who soils the honor of her name, no matter who they might be. She then claimed that she'd do whatever it takes to protect Basara, because he's proof that she was alive, and Ornis got back on his feet while saying that she would follow him back to heaven. He then summoned his spear and claimed that she couldn't stop him because she'd sealed away most of her power as the price for coming to the human world, and threw his spear at Basara. However, Chisato used a spell to disintegrate the spear before it could hit Basara, and she explained that she'd undergone many trails, especially from the other members of the 10 gods. But because some of them sided with her, she's allowed to unleash the same power she once had whenever it was necessary to protect Basara. She then lifted the seal on her powers, and as she approached Ornis, he asked her why she didn't just stand by quietly as Basara eliminated him. She explained that she didn't stop Basara in order to save him, but rather because she couldn't let Basara continue running rampant, and said she had to be the one to crush a god like him because she was neither affiliated with the heroes nor the demons. As Ornis started shriveling around like a dehydrated fish, she said she'd make him pay for making Basara point his sword at her, out of suspicion by eliminating every trace of him, and she activated a chain of magic circles which pointed directly at him. Bro tried to beg for his life by saying he was doing it for her sake, but she destroyed him with a massive spell and said his claims of hurting Basara for her sake was basically him begging her to unalive him. Afterwards, she told Brynhildr that she'd grant it the soul of the foolish one who tried to harm it, and then tapped the sword, causing a bright light to cover the room. In his consciousness, Basara was struggling on a hospital bed, while dreaming of how he wanted to save the girls, and Chisato said she was a bit jealous of how much he cared for them. As she removed her lab coat, she claimed she'd make things better, and then she started treating his abs like a popsicle. When Basara woke up, she asked him to pour everything into her before undoing his magic restraints with the snap of her finger. Hearing this, Basara immediately ripped her gear off, causing her to make lady noises. Her battle cries got even more intense as he started ravaging her from all angles, and after several more minutes of R-rated action, the chains holding Basara in the real world finally disappeared, causing him to fall into Chisato's arms, and she said she'd alter his memories so he'd forget about the entire ordeal with Ornis, because it was too early for him to know about all that. However, she said she looked forward to being able to talk to him about everything that happened there that day, including her true identity and that of his mother, and she then shared a kiss with him. That evening, the students danced around the campfire while Tachibana explained to Basara that his clan were driven from their homeland long ago by heroes because some corny heroes caused some trouble, and blamed it on the vampires as part of their plan to have them eliminated. Tachibana said it was that reason he thought Basara wanted to unalive him, and then apologize for his actions. But Basara said there was nothing to apologize for before telling him that he'd never target him because he was no longer a hero. A while later, Basara was in that bath, thinking about his conversation with Tachibana, and he had a flashback of himself defeating Sakasaki, but he still had the feeling that someone protected him during that ordeal. Unfortunately, his bath-time brainstorming was interrupted when his slave girls came in wearing sus clothes, and Maria explained that she made the girls crave his meat stick by telling them they didn't contribute much during the battle against Sakasaki. Basara then asked why Kurumi came with them, and Maria explained that it wouldn't be nice to leave her out of it, causing him to yell at her for planning yet another round of intense play without his consent. As he complained, the girls started begging him to make their fantasies become reality, so Bro promised to relieve them and got out of the bath to do so. Seeing this, Maria suggested using a sus item to please them, and they were interrupted when Maria's elder sister named Rukia showed up to confront her. Basara was confused, so Rukia explained that she'd come to convey the decision of their moderate faction, which was to have all of them come to the Demon Realm with her. In the Demon Realm, Demon Lord Leohart told his minions that they were sent to destroy the Moderator faction using a recently uncovered artifact, and although he thought the mission wasn't feasible, he had no choice but to accept because it was given to them by the Council. He asked a tech bro demon named Luca how the analysis was going, and he said it would take a bit more time to reforge the artifact, since he was having difficulty undoing its previous control pact. Leohart told him to take a break, and Luca tried to refuse, but Leohart's minion named Gald informed him that he was the only magician Leohart trusts, causing him to get flustered until he passed out. When the other minion named Balfleer asked who would take charge of the mission, Gald decided to do so in order to move Leohart's plans forward. Balfleer then asked how they'd gaslight people into believing their plan was a just cause, and Lars made a surprise entrance by saying it wouldn't be a problem because the moderate faction had summoned Mio back to the Demon Realm since it would give him the chance to claim the powers she inherited from Wilbert. Leohart agreed with his idea, and Balfleer said he didn't fully trust Lars. Earlier, Rukia explained to the gang that they were being summoned by the leader of the moderate faction named Ramses, who was also the brother of Wilbert, and this made Mio feel concerned. A while later, Basara and the team promised Mio that they'd protect her, and when he asked Mio what she wanted to do, she said she'd go to the Demon Realm to resolve things even though she was scared. She felt guilty about dragging all of them to her mess again, so Basara comforted her by patting her head. Later that night, Rukia showed up from a dark portal, and everyone went inside as they made their way to the Demon World. Rukia led Basara and the girls through a dark portal dimension until they eventually arrived at the Demon Realm. Basara and the hero sisters were stunned because the Demon Realm looked like a kingdom from Harry Potter, and Rukia told them that they were at the Wildart Castle, which was the castle Wilbert was once the master of. She also informed them that Ramses was the present master of the castle, and Basara asked her to take them to Ramses. Inside the castle, Kurumi started ranting because the doofus who summoned them there wasn't even around, and Basara calmed her down by saying they had no choice but to wait till the next day since he left to attend to some business. Yuki realized that the room they reserved for them was as worn out as a retired hooker's equipment, which made it obvious that they weren't welcome in the Demon Realm. Just then, Zest came by in a maid outfit to serve them some tea, and everyone was surprised, so she explained that she's currently serving as a maid at the castle. As she served them their meal, Kurumi secretly asked Yuki who Zest was, causing her to explain that she was the demon who used to serve Zolgia. When Zest served Basara some cake, Bro got flustered when her milk jugs wobbled in front of him, and he told her he was glad to see that she was doing well. Mio also nonchalantly confessed that she was worried about Zest, and when she tried Zest's tea, she said it was delicious. Basara also said her snacks were delicious, and this made her blush, but Maria's mother Sheila suddenly appeared on Basara's lap, causing them to be surprised. Sheila explained that she could teleport around freely using a spatial tunnel, and she flexed that ability right in front of them by warping around the room, before saying that she was right to have Zest serve them. She reappeared on Basara's lap before explaining that Zest was her personal maid, which made things convenient for them. And when Basara thanked her, she said she was doing it as a way of making up for all the trouble she caused during the incident with Zul'jah. She then revealed that Zest put in lots of effort into their meal when she heard Basara was coming, and when Zest got embarrassed, they all laughed at her. As Sheila teased her, Basara saw Maria sneaking out of the room. A while later, Rakia told Maria that Ramses left her punishment for the Zul'jah incident up to her, and when she told her to get prepared, Maria put on her birthday suit. Ruka then walked up to Maria and prepped up a whip to give her some hot lashes. But Basara arrived just in time to stop her. He asked Rukia to forgive her, and when Rukia asked what he was doing there, he apologized before confessing that he heard everything from Sheila. Rakia then reminded him of the fact that acting on his own while he was at the castle could have some serious consequences, and Maria immediately started begging on Basara's behalf, but he interrupted her by saying he wanted to protect his precious little sister. He said the family had already forgiven Maria for betraying them during the Zul'jah incident because she didn't do it of her own free will, and these words made Maria happy. Ruka said she understood his sentiments, but then claimed that their forgiveness would make Maria suffer from even more guilt, before saying that Maria needed to receive her punishment. She then offered him a chance to administer the punishment in her stead, and Basara agreed. He then started spanking her, and Rukia used a bit of succubus magic to make Maria get into the freak mode. When Basara hit her rear a second time, she made a loud battle cry, and as he continued to punish her, she felt even more pleased, until he delivered a mega slap that made her feel like she was ascending to Valhalla. Afterwards, she started kissing him intensely, and when Basara raised his hand to spank her again, Rukia rushed in to save her, but he ended up just petting her while telling her she did a good job for hanging on. Just then, Kurumi, who was eavesdropping on them, lost her balance and fell into the room. She explained that she only came there because she was worried about them, but Rukia then used her succubus powers to awaken her inner sus demon. With the snap of her finger, Rukia made the door close and all of Kurumi's uniform disappear, and she said she was free to do what she wished with those who behaved suspiciously in her private room. As she attempted to rip off Kurumi's plot armors, Basara told her that Kurumi was Maria's precious friend, so she decided that Basara should be the one to administer punishment to her, the same way he did for Maria. Meanwhile, the rest of the girls were still at the coffee table worrying about Maria when they heard a knock on the door. Basara started going to town on Kurumi's plots, causing her to lose her mind, and he eventually started kissing her as well. She begged him to do even wilder things to her, so Basara started treating her armpits like a lollipop, and this made her reach her limit. As Rukia walked out, she felt bothered by the fact that Maria had now made friends. When Basara returned to the living room, he assured the girls that Maria and Kurumi were okay, but then he saw a weird-looking man at the table which Rukia identified as Klaus. He pointed out that Basara was the son of Jin while introducing himself to him, and Rukia revealed that Klaus used to serve as Wilbert's strategist. Klaus then offered to take them to a better room than the garbage they were in, but Ruka reminded him that the room was prepared in accordance to Ramses' orders. Klaus said he'd explain his decision to Ramses, and made Rukia back off by giving her a threatening stare. As he walked with the gang, he explained that the conflict between the Moderator faction and the new Demon Lord Leohart faction was growing fiercer. He said that even though Ramses had taken over the Moderate faction, he and many others were still more loyal to their late king, and they eventually got to a spot where Mio saw a picture of her dad along with a crowd of demons who were praising her. As Mio moved to get a clearer view of them, the crowd got even more intense with their hype, and Klaus explained that it was as though Wilbert had returned, causing Basara to realize that this was Ramses' plan all along. A while later, a perky demon named Noelle introduced them to a place in the center of the city which was named Arter Bell Plaza, and Yuki told her to stop being loud because it would make them stand out despite the goofy disguise they were wearing. Noelle then said she was excited to show them around since Klaus put them all in her care. As they walked through the city together, Mio pointed out that the demon realm was very similar to the human realm, but Yuki said it was very different, and informed her that the place was filled with a substance called demon particles. Mio was confused, so Yuki gave her a visual display using magic and then explained that the power of heroes halved in that world. Basara asked Yuki if it was bothering her, but she said she was okay because she'd trained very well. Soon they arrived at a diner where they ate some snacks together, and Zest suddenly decided to wait outside. She walked through the streets, thinking of how her existence as a former minion of Zul'jah would only cause Basara trouble, and she got to a point where some guards started bullying her. Just then, a flower carriage crashed into a wall nearby, causing a smoke screen which allowed Basara to escape with Zest. They ran through the street until they got to a point where Zest injured her leg, and Basara had to carry her on his back. As they moved along, Basara told Zest to value herself more because she was a girl, and they eventually caught up to the others. That evening, they saw Ramses returning to the capital, and Klaus informed Basara that Ramses was intending to extract the Demon Lord Wilbert's power from Mio. Hearing this, Basara realized that Mio could live as a normal girl if he succeeds, but then Klaus pointed out that Ramses was an evil scumbag, who would probably pose a threat to Mio's life. That evening, Kurumi was staring at a darkness element, which was given to her by Rukia in order to protect Maria using its powers. Elsewhere, Noelle told Mio about how she and Lars grew up in the same orphanage and said she can't stop worrying about him because of how stubborn he is. Meanwhile, Basara met up with Ramses on the balcony and asked to talk to him. Basara told Ramses that he heard from Klaus that he intends to extract Wilbert's power from Mio and cause her harm in the process. He said Mio was a normal girl and got into a loud tone as he asked Ramses what he thought Mio was. In response, Ramses said it doesn't matter what happens to Mio in service to the people, adding that it was her fate for being born as the daughter of the Demon King's daughter. He then brought up the fact that Basara had formed a master-servant pact with her and said a foolish girl who drowns herself in pleasure was unfit to rule the kingdom. This ticked Basara off so much that he attempted to pull his sword, but Rukia stopped him by pointing her blade at his neck while telling him to stand out. Just then, Sheila appeared and told them to stop because nothing good would come from an outbreak of violence. She reminded Basara that his girls would be hurt if anything happened to him, causing him to finally stand down, and then she teleported away with him. They reappeared at a bathhouse, where Sheila said she wanted to help Basara calm down, since he hadn't gotten any sleep yet. Just then, Zest arrived in a towel, and Bro immediately lost composure when he saw her bouncy melons, and he realized that they've gotten bigger since the last time he saw them. He tried to snap himself out of the weird thoughts he was having, but Zest suddenly started rubbing her milk bags on his back, while explaining that it was a special technique she learned from Sheila for washing her master's back. As she proceeded with her sus backwashing, Sheila said it was proper maid etiquette and then asked Basara if he'd like to form a master-servant pact with Zest. Basara was shocked by this, so Sheila explained that if the confrontation with the reigning Demon Lord faction escalates, Zest's position would grow too precarious for her to cover. Hearing this, Basara said he'd do it if it's what Zest wants, and Zest started hesitating, so Basara told her that Mio and the others would also welcome her to the family. He then asked Zest to let him protect her, and she was immediately overwhelmed with emotion. But she said no because she didn't just want to get protected by Basara but also wanted to protect him herself. She then asked Basara to make her his maid, and she completed the master-servant pact by kissing the crest on his hand. Afterwards, Basara slept on Zest's lap, and Sheila asked Zest if she was still anxious about serving Basara. In response, Zest said Basara had chosen her to be his maid, and a tear dropped from her eye. Later that evening, the gang watched from afar as Mio went to drop some flowers on her late daddy's grave, and the wind ruined her emotional moment by blowing away the flowers. When Mio woke up the next morning, she stared out the window, and suddenly she and the other girls heard a loud noise coming from outside. Basara rushed to the balcony where he saw that the colossal titan had broken into the city, and he immediately rushed off to face them. Gald, who was riding the monster, announced that he was there on behalf of Lord Leohard, and he commanded the people of the city to hand Mio over at once before making the monster fire a massive laser beam right beside the castle. His companion Nebra said he was going easy on them, because unaliving everyone in the city would make everything end much sooner, and Gald said he didn't care about Nebra's opinion because he was only an observer in that operation. Nebra reminded him that the elders were looking forward to the actions he takes as a high-ranking war hero, and Gald commanded his titan to start marching on the city. The girl saw the monster through a screen, so the hero sisters immediately got into battle form, and as they prepared to go face it, Mio asked to join them. However, Noelle said she shouldn't go, and Klaus suddenly appeared on screen before telling them to make sure Mio doesn't take a step out of that room. Mio tried to argue, so he explained to her that they couldn't allow her to fall into the enemy's trap, before pointing out that it was a complicated political issue. Yuki then told Mio to stay behind and pointed out that Basara would say the same thing if he were there, after which she flew into battle. Meanwhile, some mages were blasting the Titan with magic blasts, but their attacks had no effect on the monster, and they barely managed to escape when the Titan tried to stomp them. Just then, Zest appeared with a large golem, and Gald felt disappointed that he'd be fighting a lowly maid. However, Basara charged at him and he managed to block Basara's attack, before jumping down from the monster to face him. Gald got excited because he knew he was facing Jin's son, and Basara took a stance while boldly claiming that he wouldn't let him destroy the city any further. Meanwhile, Zest's golem started wrestling with the Titan, and Yuki proved to be a proper Attack on Titan fan as she sliced the second giant in the back of its neck. Kurumi then made some fire spirits explode on its body, but that wasn't still enough to take down the monster, so Maria delivered about 50 different kicks all over the monster's body. However, the beast simply shrugged her off, and Rukia managed to save her from the fall. When the monster blasted its laser beam again, Rukia blocked it with a magic shield, and Mio watched from the screen with a concerned look on her face. At the same time, Basara tried attacking Gald, but he blocked the attacks with his bare hands before delivering a shoulder tackle that sent Basara flying into the roof of another building. Gald then started rage-baiting Basara until he got back up and charged at him again. The demon generals fired a magic blast at Basara, but the Steez boy detected it, and Gald decided that playtime was over, so he transformed into his demonic form before sending a flaming dragon to attack Basara. The dragon wrapped Basara up and began barbecuing him with the heat from its body, causing the girls who watched behind the screen to scream his name out of fear for his life. Before Noelle could realize it, Mio ran out of the room to save her hubby, and she had a flashback of a time when Basara hugged her from behind while promising to always fight by her side no matter where they went. With the flame still scorching his body, Basara was sent through a statue, and when Gald tried to finish him off, Basara pulled a crazy Uno reverse by slashing his arm off with his invisible sword. Just then, a weird aura covered up Basara and exploded. When Mio arrived at a bridge, she saw Basara's unconscious body laying there, and this made her lose control of her powers. Nebra told Gald that he pulled that magic trick because he wanted to stop Leohart from gaining any more power, and then blasted him with a giant laser beam. Before Nebra could cause any more destruction, Mio showed up in her Super Saiyan mode and said she'd never forgive him for hurting her pappy. She easily destroyed Nebra's Titan with an overpowered magic blast, and Yuki saved her from falling to the ground. Nebra was stunned by what he'd just seen, but he activated a new magic monster which was inside the Titan. However, Ramses reduced it to a pebble with his gravity magic, and Nebra tried to unalive Mio out of desperation. But Basara arrived just in time to stab him from behind. Basara then started yelling at him until he confessed that he was following orders. Before he could reveal who his boss was, his master-servant pact activated, causing him to vanish into dust. A while later, Mio thanked Klaus for making her feel welcome in the demon realm, and then she told him that she'd decided to live from that point onwards as a human. She boldly stated that she didn't want to succeed her father before leaving to meet the others. Some hours later, Ramses told Rukia to call off their plans, and when she asked if he was sure, he replied that their circumstances had changed. Meanwhile, Basara was walking through the city with the girls and he ran into Jin at a particular spot who was accompanied by a strange demon. Elsewhere, Leohart asked a hospitalized Gald what he meant by dimensional fluctuation, and Gald explained that the technique Basara used during their fight allowed him to direct the dimensional fluctuation that occurred when he summoned Brynhild. He said it's a supersonic slash that cuts like a whirlwind, and grabbed onto what was left of his right arm as he admitted that the attack took him by surprise. Gald started apologizing for his incompetence, and when he started coughing, Leohart tucked him in and told him to get some rest so that his wounds would heal. As Leohart moved up his magic elevator, he started feeling depressed over all of the events that happened during Gald's attempt at taking over Mio, and when he arrived at the upper floor, his elder sister Lila started pestering him with questions about what was bothering him. Bro tried to walk away nonchalantly, but she reminded him that she could see through anything, and then suggested they do their usual Alabama dance later that night. As Leohart took his bath, Layla came by and started rubbing her melons on his back while telling him what a great demon lord he was. She eventually got so playful with his body that she tripped and fell inside the pool. Meanwhile, Lars looked at some fissures forming on the grounds of the demon world, and he said they're extravagant but scary. In the Wilbert Castle, Ramses got a call from Leohart, who announced that there will be a competition of 7 versus 7, and whichever camp seizes the most victories will obtain authority over the demon realm. After the call ended, Jin asked Rasmus what he intended to do, and he pointed out that the competition was no doubt a trap, because the idiots on the council wouldn't allow those conditions without some kind of ploy. Rukia said it's true and added that it was unsettling that it didn't touch at all on the victor's prize, causing Jin to speculate that the victor's reward is Mio and the loser gets the axe. He however stated that it was better than waging a full-scale war, and pointed out that if the giant heroic spirits they faced came with an army, the damage to their city would have been much worse than it was. Ramses said he has no choice but to accept the conditions, and Jin pointed out that things never go as planned before, stating that the new demon lord Leohart being a man of such caliber, as well as Ramses summoning Mio to the demon world were both miscalculations. Ramses affirmed his statement before saying that he was naive in thinking the council would select a demon lord that was more easily manipulated. Jin pointed out that he went to their rendezvous point during the battle, but he couldn't find a lady he was meant to meet there, and then asked Ramses if there were any changes to the plan on his end. Ramses said even he didn't have a grasp on her whereabouts, and their conversation was interrupted when Sheila appeared beside Jin. She revealed that Safia, the lady they were talking about, didn't know the demon realm at all, and when Ramses asked if she was sure, she said it was a woman's intuition. Jin said her intuition was usually on the money and told them that they needed to take care of the problem right in front of them. While Basara's squad started doing weird things to each other, Jin asked Ramses how he intended to fight in the competition, and Ramses said he'd leave it up to Basara's team. Jin warned him that their plan could be ruined if they head out themselves and said he'd teach them everything they need to know in order to come out victorious in the competition. The next day, Basara was getting brutally clapped by his daddy, and despite their clear difference in power, Jin motivated Basara to keep coming at him. When Basara charged at him again, Jin jumped into the sky. Basara followed him there and tried to land several sword strikes, which he blocked easily before knocking Basara into the ground. As his idiot son was eating dirt, Jin asked him why he was challenging a power type head-on, and Basara charged at him again, but this time, he made his sword disappear when he got close. He swung immediately, the sword started reappearing, and Jin dodged with a smile on his face while telling him that he'd need to break his opponent's guard with his feint if he wanted to land the attack. He then grabbed Basara and threw him into a rock in the forest before pointing his sword at him. Jin asked Basara if he could keep going, and Daddy's boy said yes, but he said they'd continue after a short break. As they rested, Basara asked Jin if he'd met Leohart, and Jin said yes before telling him that he was quite good despite being young. Basara asked if he thought he could beat him, and Jin said if he faced Leohart head-on, he might find him stronger than Daddy. Hearing this, Basara was shocked that Jin couldn't beat Leohart, and he started to worry that he might get dog-walked by the young demon lord, but Jin said he had a chance to win depending on how he goes about the upcoming battle. Jin then told him that he lacked basic understanding of what his greatest strength is and said they didn't have enough time for him to properly teach him before asking to resume their duel. When Basara got up, Jin activated a barrier and approached Basara with his aura overflowing, causing the idiot hero to immediately summon his sword out of fear. Jin said there would be no more holding back from that moment, and his aura started spiraling in a manner that was more dramatic than Goku's Ultra Instinct transformation. Basara was frozen in shock, and Jin fired a sword blast directly at him. Meanwhile, Mio was failing miserably at doing push-ups thanks to the heavy magic orb placed on her back, while Maria, who was training her under the same conditions, performed it easily. Meanwhile, Yuki was carrying Kurumi on her back in a weird but painful way, while Zest made her melons bounce as she did squats until Sheila said it was enough for the meantime. Sheila gave them some magic water to replenish their energy, and as they drank it, she explained that strengthening their basic physical abilities was the fundamental way of raising their combat skills. Mio said it wasn't enough for her because she needed to master the Demon Lord's power so that she wouldn't be a burden to Basara anymore, and Sheila told her she couldn't do that overnight. Mio started comparing herself to Ramses, so Sheila advised her to hone her own strengths before worrying about controlling the Demon Lord's power. Sheila then activated the slave crests on all 3 servant girls, causing them to lose control, and she fed them a special pill which helped calm them down. They were surprised, so what explained that she created a pill to suppress their curse activation before warning them that it would become more difficult to ascertain Basara's position as they got more loyal to him. Just then, they heard a loud bang followed by a large glowing light coming from the Uldra forest nearby, so Kurumi teleported them there. When they arrived, Jin handed his unconscious son to them to heal him, and Yuki noticed that there was a massive hole in the ground due to their fight. Basara woke up several hours later in a hospital bed, and he told Jin that during their fight, he unleashed a powerful move due to his determination to protect the girls, causing Jin to explain that it was the same move he used during the attack on the village several years ago. Hearing this, Basara started tweaking, so Jin calmed him down before explaining to Basara that he had 3 limiters on his powers, which included his hatred for his sword due to the Hero Village incident. Jin said he'd need to release 1 or 2 of his limiters in order to match Leohart, and Basara started to worry. So Jin told him he didn't have to beat Leohart during their fight. When Basara asked what he meant, he pointed out that the moderate faction would look to make Mio the reigning demon lord if Leohart loses before telling him that they'd settle things in a unique way, which he'd make sure would work out. Later that evening, Basara was so worried about his powers that he blasted a banishing shift attack into the sky, and this made Yuki worry for him. The next day, Basara and the girls said their goodbyes, as they made their way to the battlegrounds for the competition. Sometime later, Basara and the girls stood before Leohart in his throne room, and as they introduced themselves to each other, a weird masked demon named Lord Belphegor walked into the room. Balfleer asked Belphegor what he was doing there, and Belphegor started yapping about how it was his duty to discipline women because he inherited Zolgia's playground after his passing. Hearing this, Zest started shivering, so Mio calmed her down by holding her hand, and Belphegor said that as an elite member of the council, he's positive that he'd live up to the expectations of Leohart. The Demon King then asked him to give his best efforts, and he agreed before staring at Mio and Basara in a threatening way. As they walked down the stairs, Basara realized that the current Demon Lord and the council weren't getting along very well, and he eventually met up with Lars by the hallway, who asked him to go easy on them during the battle. Soon they arrived at their room, and Kurumi sent out some spirits to ensure that there were no boogeymen hiding in the area. After the check, she said she was surprised that there were no traps laid out for them, and Basara pointed out that they were trying to prove that they didn't need any tricks in order to beat them during the tournament. Basara then remembered Jin telling him about how he needed to release 2 limiters in order to match Leohart, and Mio started getting worried for him, so Zest asked her what was wrong. Mio said it was nothing, and Maria broke the tension by saying they needed to do what they could at the moment instead of just being nervous about the upcoming battle. Hearing this, Mio grabbed Basara's hand and asked him to begin his master duties. Yuki also expressed her desire to grow stronger, and Maria instructed him to make everyone submit even more, so he told all the ladies to take off their armor. They all complied with his request, and he stared intensely at their loosely covered figures, causing Mio to feel embarrassed. He then asked them to go with him, and Maria asked the maid ladies outside for a special request. Meanwhile, Belphegor was playing around with the milk factories of a demon baddie while talking about how fun the tournament was going to be. When the demon girl reached her limit, he ordered his guard to bring him another girl, so the guard used magic to disintegrate all of the girls he'd previously toyed with. As they vanished, Belphegor expressed his desire to get a taste of Mio's body. At the same time, Zest fed Mio a strange substance while she was in the mood, and Maria asked her to give Basara some, and the 4 other girls interrupted by asking Basara to make their floodgates rain, so he proved to be a Mega Chad once again by making all 5 of them reach their limits at the same time. The next day, Ramses entered the tournament grounds in a carriage along with Rukia and Noel, and Leohart was pleased because all the actors had now arrived. Meanwhile, the girls were still in bed, and Mio saw Basara leave the room alone, which made her worried about him. In a demon bar somewhere, Takigawa was on his phone when Basara arrived in a hood disguise, and he asked Basara why he suddenly asked to meet him alone. Basara apologized, but Takigawa went on to say that two enemies having a secret meeting right before their tournament makes for a good scandal. Just then, a demon scum in the area mentioned the fact that Gald was defeated, and his friend presumed that there would be a huge war soon. Takigawa asked Basara what he wanted to talk about, and told him that if wanted to rig the match, the price was high, but he'd make do with his head out of consideration for a classmate. Basara then asked if he was serious, and Takigawa replied that he was always serious. The mid-hero then said he wanted to ask a favor of him, and when Takigawa asked what it was, he said he needed to get some perfume from him. Takigawa was surprised, and as Basara elaborated, some demons in the bar started ranting about how they desperately wanted to unalive some humans. Meanwhile, Yuki was wandering alone at night when she saw Mio suddenly turn into dust. And before she knew it, the rest of the girls also disintegrated right in front of her. She got on her knees out of fear and felt even more terror when Basara pointed his blade at her. Basara then fired a massive sword blast at her, and this made Yuki wake up from that nightmare. She started having a panic attack while calling Basara's name, and Kurumi, who lay beside her, started worrying for her. Elsewhere, Takigawa, now dressed up as Lars, bought some perfume from a merchant, and when he got outside, he wondered what Basara was planning. At the same time, Mio saw Basara staring intensely at his phone, and she got worried, so she approached him and asked if he was contacting Jin. Basara said yes and told her they needed to get some sleep because the tournament was coming up. As he tried to walk away, Mio hugged him from behind and told him not to do anything reckless, causing him to smile. He held her hand, causing her to loosen her grip, and then looked at her, while telling her to believe in him no matter what. Hearing this, Mio kissed him and then held on to him, while he patted her on the head. She then called him Ani-chan, while telling him to make her submit even further, and the two of them went into the shower together. There she told him that her milk factories got that big because of him, and as he played around with her goods, she told him she was glad she met him. He asked why she was saying this all of a sudden, and in response, she simply smiled at him with tears in her eyes. Outside the bathroom, Basara's phone buzzed as he received a new message from Takigawa. The next day, Leohart entered the arena, and all the demons in the stand started praising him. He asked Balfleer why he turned the tournament into a spectacle, and the four-eyed demon explained that he gathered the spectators so that Leohart could demonstrate his victory to the people. They saw Mio standing across from them, and Leohart realized that she was the opposing team's representative. Mio then boldly claimed that she wouldn't be fighting as the former Demon King's daughter, but rather as herself. Mio and Leohart said it didn't matter, because the results would still be the same. Just then, the Jiggly Cat Girl MC announced that the battle was about to begin, and she explained that the way to win was to either unalive or incapacitate your opponent. She also said that losers will get axed while the winner would obtain. Mio and Noel, who was watching with Ramses and Rukia on television, was shocked to hear this. Leohart got a call from a council member who informed him that Belphegor was still yet to arrive because he was still having some nightly fun with the ladies, and Belfleer pointed out that even Basara hadn't arrived yet. Balfleer asked Leohart if it was the council that was springing something up, and he replied that it was part of war as he walked away. The MC got everyone even more hyped before announcing that the first battle would be between Luca and Mio. Luca then summoned a massive heroic spirit and told Maria that he couldn't afford to lose when he's fighting in Gald's stead. When the battle began, the heroic spirit fired a blast at Mio, but she blocked and blasted away a piece of its shoulder. However, the heroic spirit regenerated, causing everyone to be shocked and sent Mio flying with a blast. On the ground, Mio remembered Basara promising to return, and this gave her the resolve she needed to enter her Super Saiyan mode, which allowed her to vaporize the heroic spirit. Mio was announced as the winner of the duel, and when Maria praised her, she said she wouldn't be able to face Basara if she lost. As Maria took the stage for her match, Rukia worried for her, but then her opponent was revealed to be Lars, causing Noel to be shocked. Maria asked Lars why he was betraying them, and he said there was no point in her asking that, now because he knew she wouldn't go easy on him if he told her he had his reasons. Just then, the MC announced the start of the match, so Mio charged directly at Lars. However, he said she was predictable, and launched several orbs in her direction, but she destroyed them using a shockwave from her fist. The explosion caused a smoke screen, and from the smoke came Maria, who attempted to kick Lars's head off, only to end up kicking an orb which Lars placed in front of him. Lars said he didn't think she'd use someone named Valga's technique, and then made an orb explode directly in her face while shielding himself from the blast. As Maria lay on the ground, he asked her if she thought she'd be safe by only using close combat, and the crowd went wild as the MC hyped up Lars to be the reincarnation of Doctor Strange. In the waiting room, Kurumi started worrying for Maria, and Zest explained to the girls that an explosion can be blocked by a magic barrier, as long as there's even a faint gap. Mio pointed out that Maria was stronger than she used to be, and then Maria created another smoke screen by punching the ground of the arena. Lars immediately created some orbs to defend himself, and Maria transformed into her full demon form. The masked scumbag decided to follow in Arata's footsteps and break the sacred rule of anime by attacking her while she was transforming, but Maria tanked the attack and charged right at him. She transformed her right arm into a much larger arm, which she used in shattering one of Lars's orbs while punching him in the face, and Noelle started wondering why Lars was fighting against them. Maria tried to land several more heavy hits on Lars, but he dodged easily, and asked Maria how many times she's battled in that form. She didn't respond, so he guessed that she hadn't used it many times, and went even further by deducing that it was the first time she's transformed in the demon realm. He said she was at the mercy of her own great power, and she fired a massive Rasengan at him, but he simply teleported behind her while telling her the attack was nothing special. He said she's asking too much if she thought the power she wasn't used to would win her the match, and she tried to knock him out, but he evaded her once again by teleporting to another part of the arena. Lars then said he knew she wanted to win by all means, and then fired several powerful orbs at her, which took her out with an explosion. He towered over an unconscious Maria on the ground with several dark orbs floating around him, and the crowd started asking him to unalive her. Seeing this, Noelle got scared, but Lars yelled at the crowd to shut up while throwing an orb at the barrier to intimidate them. He loudly proclaimed that he only unalived people whenever he chooses to, and told them to shut up one more time before walking away from the arena. The MC announced Lars to be the winner, and said the teams were now tied 1-1. Meanwhile, Rukia asked Ramses to excuse her while she went to check on her sister, and as she left, Noelle smiled because she realized that Lars hadn't changed. In the waiting room, Mio told the rest of the girls that she was heading out to check on Maria, and Rukia carried Maria's unconscious body through the hallway. Yuki started shivering as she worried for Basara, and Kurumi asked Zest to get them some drinks while signaling her that she only needed some alone time with her sister. Yuki told Kurumi to hurry since she was next to fight, and Kurumi stood up to leave before telling Yuki that Mio wasn't the only one who gets to decide what she wants. Kurumi then said she could say everything she wanted to say to her, and Yuki went into tears as she hugged her from behind, while thanking her. Meanwhile, Basara summoned his sword outside of a strange building, and prepared to engage in battle there. In the arena, Kurumi's opponent was announced to be a demon mage named Admirath, and the MC hyped him up to be the demon version of John Wick. Admirata introduced himself to Kurumi while shaking hands with her. When they separated hands, Kurumi noticed that he left a strange coin on her palm, and this immediately made her worried, so she yelled at him saying that she wouldn't fall for his petty tricks. He told her that the choice is hers, and said Basara's fate rests on her shoulders. Kurumi thought he was lying, but then she started to worry that Basara would be in trouble if he was telling the truth, and then the MC announced the start of their battle. Meanwhile, Mio and Rukia were in the infirmary, where an unconscious Maria was unconscious, and when Mio asked if Maria would be okay, Rukia said yes. Back at the arena, Admirath ripped off some of the airbending moves he learned from Aang, but Kurumi dodged before blasting him with a lightning spell which he deflected with his scythe. Elsewhere, Leohart asked Bolflier how Luca was doing, and he responded that he's resting in the medical room because he's still in a state of shock after the match with Mio. Lars then changed the subject by pointing out that they had urgent matters to attend to, which was the battle currently taking place. Meanwhile, Kurumi had a clear chance to finish Admirath off with a magic spell, but she hesitated when she remembered that her hubby Basara could be in trouble, and this allowed Admirath to blast her with some wind spells, which she tried to block with a shield, but ended up losing her balance and falling to the ground. As Yuki watched, she realized that something was off because Kurumi was fighting differently than usual, and Leohart also noticed that something was off about the battle. Lars pointed out that although they looked like they were fighting fiercely, their attacks were too simple, and Kurumi was doing something she'd never do, which was challenging Admirath to a contest of speed. Balflier guessed that Admirath did something to her before the match began, and when he asked Lars what they should do, he said they had no obligation to help her since they were at war. However, Leohart said he was concerned about what the council was plotting, so Balflier decided to go investigate them since he still had time before his match. In the arena, Kurumi started getting exhausted, but Admirath didn't let her catch a break as he summoned a demonic horse, which he used to knock her into the ground. He then told her farewell as he tried to finish her off with his scythe, but Zest appeared just in time to block his attack. A council member appeared on screen and said he'd accept Narumi's defeat, but he decided to punish Zest for her interference by disqualifying her in her match. Meanwhile, Basara tried to end Belphegor during his playtime, but the demon scum countered his attack with an attack of his own. As Basara was on the ground, he started bragging about the different weird things he'd do to Mio, and this got Basara so enraged that he destroyed him with a slash. When Yuki met up with Zest and Kurumi, she saw the coin Kurumi was holding, and this got her enraged as she prepared for her match. Meanwhile, Admirath was plotting with the council member, and they revealed that they had something big up their sleeves before Admirath noticed they were being watched. Balflier, who was watching them, decided that he'd investigate them further as he went inside a portal. In the arena, Yuki faced off against a brute named Volga, who rage-baited her only to get sliced into pieces within seconds of their match. Meanwhile, Balflier noticed that the ancient artifact was being set up somewhere in the arena, and since he didn't show up in time for his match, it was given as an automatic win for the hero's side due to forfeit. The crowd started to rant, until Leohart took the stage and Rukia suggested that Ramses should take part in the final match since Basara was yet to arrive, but Mio argued that Basara would definitely arrive. Just then, the arena transformed into a sacred battlefield called Zamdu, and Rukia said they had no choice but to use Ramses for the battle, since that stage was for battles between people from Demon King lineage. Meanwhile, Basara lay on the ground unconscious somewhere in the demon world. At the arena, Leohart realized that Basara might not make it to their battle, so he got hyped to face off against Ramses, and show the entire demon realm who was more fit to be the Demon Lord. However, Basara suddenly appeared and a council member started panicking as he wondered how Basara could enter Zamdu. Another council member told him to calm down before guessing that Basara broke through the barrier using his banishing shift technique. The MC started hyping up the Demon Lord, but Leoheart told the simp to get lost, so she teleported away. He then told Basara that it was time for their battle to begin, so Basara summoned his sword and Leoheart summoned his dark blade as well. The entire kingdom watched in anticipation of the overpowered showdown they were about to witness, and a demon girl asked Jin, who was resting on a hammock, if he wasn't going to watch his son's match. Jin said watching it wouldn't change the outcome, and the demon girl mockingly asked if he thought Basara could beat Leoheart. Jin said as a father, he wanted to believe in his boy's victory, but in reality, Basara only had a 1 in 5 chance at best of beating him. The girls watched in fear as Basara clashed swords with Leoheart for the first time, and afterwards he fired a massive blast at the Demon Lord. Leoheart blocked the attack easily, so Basara charged at him again, only for the attack to get parried away by Leoheart, and Basara started hopping around the battlefield while attacking Leoheart from all angles. As Leoheart blocked his attacks, he noticed a weird scent coming from Basara, and this distracted him, allowing Basara to charge at him from above with an attack. However, the Demon King blocked his strike and evaded his follow-up attacks as well. Seeing this, Noelle started praising Basara, but Rukia told her that these attacks were all Basara had. Zest explained that banishing shift always created an opening, and said that opening could prove fatal against Leoheart. Ruka then pointed out that Basara couldn't use banishing shift, despite wanting to, and Noelle started to worry, but Mio assured them that Basara wouldn't lose. At the arena, Basara duplicated himself into 2 while charging at Leoheart, and when Leoheart blocked his attacks, he split himself into 4. Leoheart realized that Basara was using the perfume to make him see double, and then he started fending off against Basara and his shadow clones. In the demon waiting room, Lars noticed that each of Basara's blows were too light, and he wondered if Basara was hiding something else up his sleeve. When Basara charged at Leoheart again with his doubles, the Demon King fired a massive dark ray at him, which destroyed the clones and caused an explosion which pushed Basara back a little. Leoheart charged at Basara, but the mid-hero stopped him in his tracks with a special sword blast. When the smoke cleared, Basara saw that the Demon King was unscathed, and Leoheart pointed out that Basara was using a technique that uses dimensional distortion from drawing his sword. He said it wasn't a bad idea, but by its nature it always let him know when he was about to use it, and he told him that he made a mistake by allowing Gald to see it. Basara then zoomed around the battlefield like a Temu Wally West as he charged at Leoheart, but the Demon King easily knocked him away, and Zest noticed that Basara looked like he was hiding something. Mio got concerned when she saw that what he was hiding was actually the injury he sustained during his scuffle with Belphegor. The 2 Gigachads charged at each other again and fired powerful blasts at each other which cancelled each other out. Leoheart then used his devouring technique on Basara, and Basara blocked until the attack exploded, causing him to fly into the barrier which electrocuted him until he started to fall in the direction of a lava pit. Leoheart thought he'd successfully clapped him, but then Basara brought out a love-shaped tablet he was hiding and remembered when Sheila explained to him that it would unleash his hidden demon powers if he consumes it as a result of his second mother's blood within him. Back then, she also warned him that she didn't know what would happen after the power-up, but Basara agreed to take it because it was the only option he had. As he fell, he decided that he'd protect everyone even if he lost himself, and then he fell into the lava pit, causing Mio to yell his name out of concern. Leoheart then started walking away while making plans to attack the councilmen, but then he felt a surge of energy emanating from the lava pit, and out of it came Basara, who was now wearing full armor with his demon powers fully unleashed. Seeing this, Leoheart realized that Basara's demonic powers were what allowed him to enter the barrier, and Basara charged at him with an insane amount of energy behind his attack. Leoheart managed to block this strike, but the impact was so severe that it created a massive hole in the ground and made Leoheart start coughing up blood. Basara then knocked Leoheart into another part of the battlefield, and when he met him there, the armor he was wearing started spilling blood as it cracked open on its own. The sight of this made the girls panic, and Rukia explained that Basara's fearsome power was destroying his own flesh before stating that his body wouldn't hold out for much longer. Basara then fired a blast that destroyed the building they were on as well as the surrounding area, and he fired several blasts of the same magnitude, while blood spilled out of his armor. Mio couldn't bear to watch any longer, so she ran out of the waiting room in an attempt to save Basara, and Yuki stopped the other girls from going after her. In the battlefield, Basara started choking Leoheart out until Mio arrived and activated Wilbert's Demon Lord powers while hugging him. She suddenly appeared in an alternate world that looked like their school, and she kept getting transported to different parts of the city until she realized that she was inside Basara's mind. She decided that she wouldn't let the dark power consume Basara's soul, and she flew to another part of the dimension where she searched desperately for Basara until she ran into Zolgia. Mio tried to fight him, but he dispelled her attack and started choking her out until she noticed that Basara was in a bright light above them. She destroyed Zolgia and flew into the light which led her to their house where she saw Basara breaking down in his berserk form. Basara stopped himself from attacking her and called her name, causing her to cry as she embraced him. However, Berserk Basara took over again and started ravaging her milk factories. She then told him she loves him before kissing him, and this transported both of them back into the real world where Basara had now returned to his human form. They landed on the floor together and Basara helped Leohart back on his feet before smiling at him. The girls were happy to see this, but the council members started crashing out until their leader activated their trump card, which summoned a massive 6-armed creature, which Leohart identified as a supreme demonic being named Chaos. The being then fired a massive blast at them, which destroyed the entire area, and the council idiots concluded that the kingdom was now theirs. Chaos then summoned giant heroic spirits all over the kingdom, and when the spirits began their attack, a demon soldier warned the council members that they were about to destroy the entire demon world. The council members said it was okay, so long as they were safe, and they unalived him before he could argue any further. They then noticed that Basara and the others survived because Basara erased Chaos's blast using Banishing Shift. Rukia told Yuki that she was going to check on Ramsus, but Admirath appeared in their room and said he'd unalive them all. Meanwhile, Chaos fired an even larger blast at Basara, Mio, and Leohart, which destroyed the entire area. After evading the attack, Basara, Mio, and Leohart hid in one of the demolished buildings as Chaos continued to destroy the area, and Basara asked if there was a chance he'd disappear if they just bought time. Leohart guessed that the council members probably offered up the lives of all 3 of them in order to summon the Chaos Demon, and said it would continue rampaging on until it's satisfied. Mio suggested breaking the barrier in order to reunite with the others, but Leohart refused before telling her that Chaos fights by summoning a large number of heroic spirits, implying that the others would also have some fighting to do outside the barrier as well. Basara then said they'd have to do something about Chaos on their own. Meanwhile, Ruka transformed into her demon form, and Admirath bragged that she and Yuki didn't stand a chance of matching up to him in that situation. Suddenly, both ladies fell on their knees and started coughing, while Admirath explained that the mist in the air was miasma from a demon that drains their life force. He pointed out that even a succubus like Rukia was suffering and presumed that a human like Yuki was going through twice as much pain, causing Yuki to call him a coward. As she struggled, he told her that she'd suffer more if she continued to move, but then she looked at Kurumi and Maria's unconscious bodies on the hospital beds, and this gave her enough motivation to get back on her feet. Meanwhile, Zest fired magic blasts at some heroic spirits in town, and when they started to regenerate, she charged at them with full force. Inside the barrier, Basara used Banishing Shift to block a magic spear attack from the Chaos Demon, allowing Leohart to attempt a sword slash on it. However, his attack didn't do much damage to it, and its acidic blood spilled on some buildings before it whacked him away with its tentacle. Chaos then fired another huge blast in the direction of Leohart, and Mio blocked with a shield, but ended up getting pushed back by the impact. Basara caught her before she could land, and Chaos Demon didn't give them any time to regroup before prepping another massive blast. However, before it could fire the blast, it was forced to the ground by a powerful gravity magic spell which was cast by none other than Ramsus. Back at the hospital room, Admirath knocked Yuki's sword away and attempted to unalive Kurumi, but unfortunately for him, Maria woke up just in time to catch his hand. Maria ripped off his hand, causing him to cry as she tossed the severed hand in his face and told him that Kurumi is her precious friend. He tried to summon his magic scythe using his other hand, but Kurumi fired a magic blast that ripped the hand off. When she noticed Yuki lying unconscious on the floor, Kurumi angrily blasted Admirath outside the building where Maria proceeded to pummel him like a punching bag until he passed out. Elsewhere, Noelle held on to a lost girl, while a heroic spirit fired a massive blast at them, and Lars ended up saving both of them from the blast before destroying the monster. Afterwards, he carried them to safety and summoned some orbs as he prepared to face the other heroic spirits that matched towards him. Meanwhile, Ramsus started to get weak while holding down Chaos, and Basara started worrying for him, so he told him to find a way to deal with the monster. When Mio asked how they could deal with the monster, Basara brought up the fact that it couldn't leave that space due to gravity magic, before speculating that a gravity-based attack might be able to seal it to another dimension. He then told Maria to create a black hole like she did before and absorb him into it. He also asked Leohart to restrain him from moving for a short moment to allow Mio to create her black hole, and said that he would be the one to push Chaos into it. Basara then told Mio that he was about to release all of his 3 limiters, and asked her to believe in him before promising to take her home after the battle. After he flew away, Ramsus released his gravity spell, and Leohart fired a massive dark blast directly at Chaos. Chaos deflected the attack and fired a blast of his own, which Leohart dodged before shattering Chaos's swords with a powerful blast. Mio then used her magic to create a black hole behind Chaos, and Basara took 2 of the special power-up tablets at once. Mio gave Basara a bit of her aura, enabling him to transform into his most overpowered form yet, and he fired a powerful blast at Chaos, which pushed it into the black hole. Afterwards, Mio collapsed, and all of the heroic spirits in the kingdom all vanished. The councilmen were shocked that they managed to defeat Chaos, and they decided to use their last resort, which was supposed to turn everyone in the barrier to dust. However, before they could hit the activator, their hands and heads got sliced off by Layla, who then insulted their corpses for trying to take away her precious Oni-chan. Just then, Jin walked into the room, and the 2 of them glazed each other before Layla released her dark aura while pointing out that Jin came there to kill the council members as well. Jin said she had a monstrous aura, and she said she smelt an ancient powerful dragon around him before presuming that it was his blood that allowed Basara to use Banishing Shift. The 2 of them started aura farming until Basara showed up, and when she smelled him, she realized that he was there for the same reason as Jin. She also noticed that Lars was listening from outside, and she told Basara to get along with Leohart before vanishing into thin air. After she left, Jin complimented Basara for his efforts, and Basara said he hoped that Mio was free from all the Demon Lord squabbles now that the council is gone. Elsewhere, Leohart and Layla found the body of Belphegor, and when she smelled it, she realized that it was Basara who unalived him. At the same time, Jin and Ramses discussed how Basara's actions managed to bring an end to the war while ensuring the people didn't pursue Mio any further, and Jin pointed out that it was a good deal for Ramses as well. Much later, Basara and the girls returned to the human world through a portal. That night, Basara woke up from a nightmare and Mio asked for some nighttime fun, so he ravaged her plots until Maria and Kurumi made a surprise entrance inside the room. It didn't take long before Yuki showed up and started demanding some service of her own. Zest came by as well and started forcing herself on Basara, so he announced to all the girls that he'd satisfy all of them at once. If you were Basara, which of the baddies would you satisfy the most? Mio? Zest? Or maybe you prefer the teacher Chisato? Let us know in the comments. That's all for today's video. If you like anime recaps like this, check out this video here.